Hello, Steelers Nation, and welcome to a new episode of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Ritz, alongside publisher of Steel City Insider, Jim Wexell. Jim, top of the morning to you here this Friday, and the Steelers preseason is done. What are your thoughts here today?
Well, they're done with only minor injuries, so that's always a plus. Harmon has a sprain. It'll be a couple weeks, according to Jerry Dulac, and Jerry Dulac's the best with injuries. So they're expecting to miss a couple games. Now, sorting through the minor injuries and figuring out the 53, you could put two guys on IR for the 4 weeks before you. In the past, you had to have them make the 53-man roster first. Now you could put two guys on IR and designate them for return. So they have to sort through all of that with some of the minor injuries. Other than that, everything appears to be fine.
All right. And speaking of injuries, just to stick with that topic there, again, following this 19-10 victory over the Panthers, a sloppy one, there was a scare there with rookie Derrick Harmon. It did look like it was a pretty significant injury, but we did learn that it was something that is not going to be as negatively impactful as initially thought, and that's to Derrick Harmon. But sticking with that position defensive line, YA, right? And I know you're proud of me with the pronunciation there. YA Black stepped up on a night where if fans needed something to feel a little bit better about that position, they got it out of his performance.
Yeah, I think fans have been feeling good about him since the moment they saw him. I mean, I saw him in the spring and I felt good. So
Yeah, and his celebration where he was rubbing his belly, I don't know if you saw it or not.
yeah, I did. I'm eating, I'm hungry, but I mean, I was a little surprised to see he had that much belly to stick out because he's not a fat man by any. I mean, he is a big. What's getting lost? I saw he was Steelers Digest Player of the Game. He had 2 sacks. I believe he forced a fumble, didn't he?
Yes.
He also deflected a pass that was an incomplete pass. I believe it was a kind of a as key of a pass as can be had in that kind of game. But he deflected it because I've been waiting for that. You saw it at camp at least twice. And I kept waiting for him to start doing this like Manute Bowl because he really has a knack for it. And so he deflected a pass a little bit, and I don't know that he got credit for it, but he should. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a nice performance out of Black there. And let's just hit on just a few keys from the game, and then we'll really get into the 53-man roster because that's ultimately what we're going to be setting up for here. But just a few other notes I had about this contest. Beanie Bishop, who in that first preseason contest I thought played well. I thought he showed a little something game number two, but contest number three, we didn't see him.
Yeah, that's used to be an indication a guy was going to get cut when he didn't play in the last game. I have him on my 53. I have Corey Trice in parentheses as a potential injury. Trice didn't play last night, did he? So
Mm-mm.
yeah, that's a question. I I remember in the spring they picked on Beanie and then they picked on him verbally. Guys like Fryermuth and those guys, they picked on him.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it looked like they were having good natured fun with him, but it was still they were picking on him. And I just wonder if he's lost a lot of respect on the team, just if they think he's easy to go after.
Mm-hmm.
Really, no thoughts on. It's tough talking about the bottom of the roster, really.
Yeah.
So let's not waste too much time.
Okay. Yeah. Just interesting to see him not get any snaps and on a sloppy night really across the board from the team. And then the one thing that I wanted to bring up here, and it's something that I text you about during the game, which typically doesn't happen very often. And that was maybe potentially developing backup quarterback controversy to generate some controversy here on our show. And maybe it's just a controversy in my head, but it seems like Skylar Thompson, if you put this whole preseason body of work together from him, outplayed Mason, and he seems to have a bit more upside than Rudolph at this point. Sure, Rudolph has more experience. Jim, is there any possibility that Thompson played his way into the number two, that Rudolph becomes expendable, or is this just
I
all?
don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, that kind of nonsense will go on all over the radio talk show for the next 6 months, I'm sure. Um, what he did was play himself into strong consideration. You have to look at Will Howard as a potential one of those two IR guys. I don't know that you want to put Will Howard on IR for the year. You have to go sparingly with these two IR guys. I have Harmon's a consideration for that short-term preseason IR spot. Trice, Calvin Anderson. I don't think Austin is because you could keep him on the roster and have Scotty Miller return your punts. I don't know that you give a spot to Keyshawn Williams. He has been impressive enough to keep on the practice squad, but last night in his real shot to grab that 53-man spot and make Austin one of the two IR candidates, I don't think he did enough. You still have Scotty Miller can return punts, possibly Russell Wilson in the interim if you keep Austin on your 53. Will Howard has to be consideration. I think Skylar Thompson is definitely pressing that issue. I thought for sure Will Howard would just be kept as the third man because they want to keep him practicing all year.
Mhm.
But Skylar Thompson has really proven himself. He's a game day player. In practice every day, I thought Will Howard was better all the way through. Uh, so I have Skylar Thompson on my roster and Will Howard as one of the potential. I don't know. I don't know enough about the injuries. That's the problem in making this 53-man roster. So right now I have Skylar Thompson as a number three. He can eventually make the number two as the season goes on. He has to prove himself against the ones or one and a halfs, whatever you want to call starters in the third preseason game. Especially Carolina sat all their starters too. So Skylar was going against third teamers.
Yeah.
But he looks in command. He definitely looks in command. So I'm not going to get too wrapped up in these beautiful stats, these Kenny Pickett like stats. So,
So it's all in my head, Jim. That's not the first time I
oh
heard.
no, it's just Steeler Nation does this. It's the third quarterback syndrome. It's just
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's go along with that. So you started there going into your 53 man roster, talking about the quarterback position. Let's just kind of work through that offensively and head into the backfield at running back.
well, I mean, we know the players. I'm not going to say Jalen Warren, and I will note that Jalen Warren had the best preseason showing that anybody could possibly hope for because it was so bad. It was a good kick in the ass for him.
Yeah.
Just a reminder of all the things that he does poorly. That first carry was nice. Then he
Mhm.
fumbled, and then he did some kind of wacky spin move, and then he slipped and fell on his butt in running a route. So I think that was perfect for Jalen to get ready for the preseason or for the regular season. That said, you're three. Is there a fourth guy? I don't have a fourth guy. What I do have, the wide receivers, I have only five. I have Woods. You know, I I have one spot open on the 53, and it's guys like Woods, Max Sharping, Equale, the nose tackle who's been disappointing, Leal, Mark Robinson, Trice. He's in parentheses because he might be injured.
Mhm.
Castro. Castro's the guy that I hated to cut. I had cut Killebrew. I know you want to go position by position, but uh, we'll get to that later.
Yep.
The receivers, there isn't a sixth. I don't see a sixth worth keeping. I have Woods on the side. Woods was playing late against third and fourth teamers, and that's significant. And he still didn't do much. And I hate to do that because he's a veteran guy, and he's the one guy you can consider keeping. But because I still have one spot open, but I have Metcalf, Roman, Scotty Miller, Skoranek, and Austin, which is an underwhelming core. And Omar has done it again. He has not bolstered that second receiver position. He may have done it with Jonnu Smith. I know they're excited about Jonnu. If you watch the Ben Roethlisberger podcast, he hinted at how much Mike Tomlin is excited about Jonnu. So that could be your second receiver. Roman showing stuff. Scotty Miller's a good veteran to have. Skoranek hasn't showed anything. He played, so he's not injured. Um, Apparently he's a good special teamer, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and keep him on the roster. And I have Austin on the roster because, again, if it's a minor injury, it's an oblique. I see him running all the time. I assume he's going to miss a couple games, but you can keep him on the 53 and use Scotty Miller as your punt returner instead of using him. You, I hope I'm explaining this all right about the two IR spots that you have. That's what you want to put Austin on.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have two other guys that you need, a Calvin Anderson, a Trice, a Will Howard, a Harmon, those are potential guys to take those two spots. You're not going to want to waste Austin just because you want to keep Keyshawn Williams and he's an undrafted rookie free agent. Are you confident about his ball security as a punt returner? I'm not. Scotty Miller's going to catch the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need in Austin's place right now as a punt returner. So I have Austin making the team. I'm still, you have your four tight ends. And the O line, I think Pete has come from out of nowhere to grab a spot. I think he's your best reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we're shortchanging Spencer Anderson. Spencer Anderson's your best reserve because he's been a starter for Siamalu all preseason, right? So, I mean, he's your best reserve. He's your number 6. Pete's your number 7. And it comes down to Cook or Calvin Anderson. I don't think you keep both because I think Pete can swing out and be a tackle. McCollum's your backup center. Is Sharping a backup guard? I mean, I'm leaving one spot open for better minds to decide whether Robert Woods or Max Sharping gets that final spot. But I have Cook instead of Calvin Anderson. But if the coach is like Calvin Anderson and he's healthy, okay. I'm not a fan. Good guy, great guy. Just from the little I've seen, I'm not a fan. I think Pete can be that backup tackle if you don't like Cook. So I have 9 offensive linemen. But again, there's one offensive spot open. You can make it a defensive spot if you must. If there's somebody that guy to me is Castro. That guy that I don't want to cut. But on reflection, we knew what kind of player Castro was, and he still wasn't drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Now he showed like he looks like he belongs to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks like he'll definitely become a core special teamer. I had him making it over Killebrew at first. Again, I keep drifting to that last spot. I think he was my last cut. If I had to dig down, go into a meditation, a darkness retreat with Aaron Rodgers, and consider the 53 spot, my gut tells me Castro's the one football player on my cut list that I want back. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah. So you're saying that you could see Miles Killebrew getting the axe and Castro earning a spot.
But on second, like I said, on reflection, no one's going to pick Castro up because he is what we expected him to be, and that wasn't enough to get him drafted. I don't think anyone's going to pick him up.
Okay.
They had their chances. So I would take the gamble and cut Castro, even though I think he belongs. I think he's a baller. Mark Robinson has his flaws. Liel, how many chances are you going to give this guy? He is definitely a 4-3 end. Everybody wants to know what he is. That's what he is. He's a 4-3 end. So if you want to play some 4-3, and they may want to have a big defensive end who's not a linebacker. But he was running around tackling threes down, number three tight ends who would catch a pass over the middle, and he was running around. But I think it's a little too late for him. So, and Aquale, definitely disappointed, especially last night. Last impressions are not going to help him, and he got blown off the ball last night. And that's supposed to be a legitimate nose tackle. Personally, you could have Braden Fajoko on the practice squad and use him as a nose tackle if you need it. Benton got blown off the ball again early as a nose tackle. And let me just say this about Harmon being promised the number one job. He was promised the number one job in the base. Carl Dunbar was clear. It was my question. I asked him, and he was clear. Yes, he's a starter in the base. And every time they've trotted out Cam Hayward in the nickel for a starting lineup, Benton was with him. So Harmon is not a starter in what will be their actual base. He will be soon enough if Benton doesn't pull himself together.
Mhm.
But right now, it's Benton and Hayward are your two nickel defensive tackles. But they still don't have a nose. Maybe Black, the tallest nose tackle in NFL history, can be that guy because I think he got one of his sacks out of the nose. But I don't know that he's a run plugging nose in the classic sense.
Mhm.
Anyway, am I babbling too much, Jeremy?
No, no, I think you
I,
bring up some good
okay, go ahead.
points. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Now, the one thing I wrote down here is just you bring up something really interesting with the IR and what's going to happen now with the injury to Harmon, being that there was already the existing injury with Will Howard, and how that's going to be almost a game of chess to figure out what to do there.
Well, the figuring has to do with people who know the injury situations better than us. I
Mhm.
think we have a good feel, but we don't have the knowledge of precisely how long to expect a guy out.
Yeah. Yeah, which Calvin Austin, he just seems like he's been out for an eternity. And speaking of wide receiver, you talked about how there isn't a number six that you would keep, and we've been talking about this forever here, and it didn't happen last year. Is Khan going to pull the trigger on bringing somebody in? Is that group beyond Metcalf and Scotty Miller in terms of
Well,
what?
let me just say this: as much as I praised Omar for 9/10 of this season, I think he deserves a good scolding right now for the situation at wide receiver. Is he going to pull the trigger on picking up a cut? Well, that's quite a trigger to pull, isn't it? I mean, that's giving him too much credit.
Yeah.
Uh, is he going to pick somebody up? Like I said, I've left one spot open, and maybe that is for the sixth wide receiver. I don't know that you keep Woods and then embarrass him by picking up somebody and then cutting him again. I think the man deserves a little more dignity than that, and to be cut now. And that's sad. He's a good guy. He's a class act, and he's a great mentor. Maybe you keep him for that, but he just isn't showing enough.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the wide receiver situation's a little thin, a little embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just a few questions about some guys we've been talking about here on the show, that from either the draft or who've just stood out in their performance. But I got to come over to Carson Bruner, and again, he led the unit in tackles again. I know it's you know the final preseason game, but any chance that he can make it on the roster, is he destined for the practice squad?
Well, I have him on my roster, but let's go with the defensive line first. And that's another place where you could find a spot with Bruner. I have Mark Robinson cut. Um, the defensive line, of course, depending on Harmon, I have six. I have, of course, Black makes the team. I have Milk. I mean, you've invested this many years with him. He's in the last year of his contract, a cheap rookie contract, and he's a big body. He's bigger than Equale. Uh, I have Black, Milk, and Logan Lee. Logan Lee has shown, hey, that long snapping skill of his may have may make the team for him, even though they brought a guy in last night, and that's another guy who must be considered for that two-man IR that you call back. You can call back a Kuntz. Kuntz is another consideration, and I don't know how bad his injury is. You may have to keep McQuaid, who played last night, the guy they picked up, but I think you keep Logan Lee. I think there's a lot of strength of character to him. Black cites him for turning his, he says, life. I don't know that he was in peril as a bad character guy and was going the wrong way, but Logan Lee is that kind of a solid citizen type dude. I want to say a baller in the weight room. I think you know what I mean by that. He brings it. He is a mentor to a guy like Black, even at a young age. That's the kind of guy Logan Lee is. A big time state champ wrestler. Of course, he didn't have to go against Zach Frazier in West Virginia. He just dominated the state of Illinois. But Logan Lee's that kind of guy. So he makes my team, and Equale doesn't. I've got Equale cut. I didn't like what I saw last night, even though he's the only guy in the team built like a nose tackle. And he started 16 games last year for New England.
Mhm.
Had a career revival last year, and they signed him, I believe, to a 2-year contract.
Mhm.
So that's a little looks like a poor signing in retrospect. Outside linebackers, I have Leal cut. I mean, we know the four. Again, what do we know about Herbig's injury?
Mhm.
I don't have him in parentheses as a potential IR stash for right now. So there's four guys. Sawyer looked good last night. That was good to see. That was his best performance last night.
Yeah.
The inside linebackers, we know Holcomb and Harrison, and I have Bruner beating out Robinson.
Yeah.
Bruner's another guy like Castro. You could cut him and get him back because he was a seventh round pick. And we knew who he was. And he's lived up to that, and he's worthy of a roster spot. You could take a chance, but there are some teams out there that are really hungry for inside linebackers, and he has showed. Plus, they've invested a lot of play calling time with him too, a lot of brain work.
Yeah.
He's been that third team signal caller, and he's just so smooth on special teams that somebody may grab him. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's like Castro, but being that he was a seventh round pick, I'm going to bring him on my team, and I'm going to cut Mark Robinson. And all those teams that need an inside linebacker can go after Mark Robinson.
Yeah.
Mark Robinson will never be calling defenses,
Mhm.
even for the third team. Bruner is that guy, so that puts him ahead of Robinson. Robinson blows things up. He blew something up last night.
Yeah.
I love that physicality. But it looks like the special teams, especially I'm keeping Killebrew. I think the special team and Bruner doesn't blow people up like Robinson, but he makes tackles. He gets people down. He has a knack. He's a higher grade John Fiala,
Yeah.
and with his skills and knowledge inside, he can eventually give you more help as an inside linebacker than Fiala did. Maybe even surprise you someday as a starter. Who was the guy they had that went to the Raiders?
Oh,
I know his granddad's name.
Spillane.
Leitner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spillane. Right. Right. If Spillane can start, Bruner can start.
Yeah.
Bruner's faster. So where are we at now? I've cut Mark Robinson. The if you're going to cut Bishop, if you know something about Bishop, okay, but I have him making the team. I have Pierre making the team. We're looking at the corners right now. There's obvious four going down to nickels,
Mhm.
and I've count Ramsey as a corner. And Pierre and Bishop. If you want to keep Trice, I have no problem with that. If
Mhm.
you know his injury's not going to be that bad, I have no problem with that. But he just hasn't deserved it. He just hasn't deserved it.
Yeah.
And then safeties, Thornhill, Elliott, Clark. Clark had a rough night. I've liked what I've seen from him before last night. You referenced sloppy play. Missed tackles were part of it, and I believe Clark missed a couple. And I, they they were so clean in the first preseason game that it overrides the sloppiness last night. It's not a poorly coached team. It's just sloppy. Ramsey was just out there. You could tell the way he was playing. He just wanted to get the communications down, play the different positions, get the feel for the communication, and not really have to tackle anybody until he got someone in his arms and he said, I know this is a penalty, but I'm proving a point, and I didn't care either. So that was part of the sloppiness. I thought that was intentional. Now get him off the field. He showed a little physicality. He's gonna show a lot more at game time. But so I had no problem with that, and the missed tackles by Clark. You don't see that happening again,
Mhm.
but that was just his. And I have Killebrew as the fourth safety. I like Castro better, but we'll keep Killebrew, special teams captain. And Castro, I believe you'll get back on the practice squad. So all of that, if any of that makes sense, I'm going to write this down. So I'm going to try to use less words when I write so I make more sense. I'll be able to edit. So I apologize if I'm confusing right now, and I'm making this podcast go long at 5 a.m. in the morning. And I apologize, Jeremy.
No, no, this is good. This is good stuff. This is I mean, I think you provide a really nice roadmap for, what the team's going to do, what they're going to follow here. And
Well, there's one more spot. The
okay.
greatest battle of all preseason. Who do you give the punting job to?
That is a really good question. And the thing that I wonder too is, are they going to be able to turn one of those guys into a sixth or seventh round pick?
Right. That goes for Skylar Thompson. That goes for Calvin Anderson, Max Sharping, Dylan Cook. Yeah, a lot of those guys. Beanie Bishop. Hey, maybe that's why he didn't play. Maybe there's already an agreement in place with somebody
Mm-hmm.
for a late round pick swap or something. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All of that. We have no idea what's going on there either. So that's why I hesitate to make a 53. It used to be a big thing. All the reporters would compete against each other to see who would get the most right. I'm trying to, as you said, give a roadmap, open up the avenues, give you an understanding for when it happens. Oh, that was a possibility. Oh, we that was all set up for me by the guys at Steel City Insider. I just hope to enhance your knowledge base instead of getting a prediction right. I don't know if I'll get them right. I'm not trying. I'm just trying to open the knowledge up, just like at draft time. But I'm giving the punting job to Johnston.
Okay.
And you know what's weird? And we try not to be influenced by one play, but there was one play that a punt that Corliss Waitman he wanted to hang it up high and it was just too short. If you remember the punt, I wanted to see some booming. I was actually caught up in the punting derby, and I also have a personal investment in Corliss Waitman. I personally, he's the fiance of one of my daughter's friends, close friends. So I want her to be able to stay in Pittsburgh, and so I'm rooting for Corliss in that regard. But if I'm to be honest with myself, I would give Johnston the go because he's so experienced and has done all the punts. Everything that's needed, he can do. But Corliss Waitman's left-footed, and I know coaches love that. It gives you a different spin and can confuse some returners, and they put the ball in the ground, and that could be very huge to Tomlin. And Corliss deserves a strong consideration. And personally, I hope he makes it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be right, but I am just saying. And Johnston only makes the replacement cost by cutting Johnston in the salary cap move. You only save 400K, unless I got the numbers wrong. So it's not a money consideration. The Steelers have 19 million over the cap. Maybe they're waiting to pull the trigger on some dog crap receiver that got cut. And I'm just a little ticked off. With $19 million extra, they couldn't find a receiver.
Yeah.
So anyway, I would give Johnson the edge, but I'm rooting for Corliss Waitman and my daughter's friend. But there's confusion at long snapper. We don't know how long the injury to Kunst is. So he could take up one of those 2 IR spots.
Where else are you going to find the granular details and analysis of the punting position? Only here on Steel City Insider. That was great.
You know how I believe no punters or kickers belong in the Hall of Fame. So I'm down on the position. So, as much as I'm going to talk Corliss up because he's a great dude, and Cam Johnson's a cool dude too. And I know the punters and kickers of America are going to come at me for that. I don't think Adam Vinatieri belongs in the Hall of Fame. There might be, I'll go with Ray Guy. And there's a guy here and there. Boswell keeps up what he's doing. Tucker blew his chance by getting in trouble off the field. And, if Boswell keeps making 25 of 26 and 10 for 10 from 50, if he has a few more of those seasons, maybe I'll consider him for a Hall of Fame. But they're punters, man. But we've spent enough time on punters.
You have covered everything super thoroughly, and this Friday we're bringing this to you early, guys. We're getting it in here. You can't see what time we're recording, but I'm sure all of you are sleeping the time that we're recording this. But
usually I'm gulping down a cup of tea in the afternoon or water, but I'm on my second cup of coffee, and usually I'm not good until it's 2 cups. Mm-hmm. I want to be good for the writing, and it's getting a little cold, and I love my coffee with my ghee in it, and I love it really hot. So I haven't been gulping in front of you, in front of the camera, but I am a little off. Caffeine hasn't kicked in yet.
Well, it's going to hit perfectly for you to write when we wrap.
Remind me to write. I'm going to go microwave this baby, maybe put some more butter in here and gulp away.
Well, Jim, that was great, and I'm sure Steelers Nation is edified out there about the 53 where we're heading.
They're going to be pissed. They're going to be punters in the comments ripping me, and there's going to be, Equality fans. The Equality fans always come out.
Well, that's what makes it fun, right?
No, I'm tired of it. I don't even look anymore.
All right. Well, give some positive comments here today. We appreciate
Give your negative because I'm not looking. Blast me away because
negative. Yeah.
And the other thing is, Harmon's a rookie. He should have been playing. People ripping the coach are crazy. They're just looking to rip the coach. They can't wait. They just can't wait. So they're ripping him for playing Harmon. It was unfortunate. He got injured, but it looks like he's going to be okay. And looking forward to him slotting between TJ and Cam in that 4-man nickel and creating some havoc and opening doors for those two as well.
It's definitely going to be exciting when we are getting closer to that regular season opener. We're going to have coverage all season long. We'll probably have like a little season preview next week, but that's going to do it for this episode. We appreciate your support for watching the show, sharing, liking, and thank you for your subscription to the channel. We'll see you again next week. And Jim, good luck on that 53 article. Can't wait to read it.
All right, brother. Take care. Have a great weekend.
You too.
With the father in the backyard, a football they threw. Said